It's so awkward. Why is it so awkward saying hey, I'm Soph and I'm a coach, and I help women break their cycles and get them to where they envision and they want to be, but they just don't know how to. Through where I was and how I've managed to get somewhere that I never actually envisioned I would be, and how that's actually helped me help women like you. Trigger warning, guys, there is going to be talk of mental health and suicidal thoughts, so if that is something that's triggering for you, please do just skip ahead and skip to the bit of the steps I take to help women. I'm going to rewind a long time ago. I have always struggled with depression and anxiety, and so bad that when I was 11 I used to have suicidal thoughts, and I know that's crazy, but I thought it's just how I was, and that's all that I was ever gonna experience, and that's all that I was ever gonna, you know, get from life, basically, how I was feeling. So yeah, I struggled with that since I was quite young, and then went into a job that wasn't great for mental health. If you've ever worked in a call centre, you know what I'm talking about, like the worst time of my life. And again, I was just so blind to everything. I thought this was really normal, and I'd work all through the week, and then it'd get to the weekend and I couldn't get out of bed. I'd be literally crying all weekend, and I just didn't know why, and I was just constantly in this cycle of there's something wrong with me, but I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm never going to be like these people that I see on internet and like think have such a cool life. And not that like I thought that there was better than me, I just didn't know what was different, and I didn't accept that one day could be a possibility. Oh, what? I didn't actually think I'd get emotional. So yeah, I ended up leaving that job, very grateful, and ended up falling into PT. And so it wasn't like I came into PT as someone who had it figured out. Like, I did not have it figured out still. I just knew I didn't want to be where I was, and I thought, oh, do you know what, I could give it a try. Like, very naive, very as in naive to what it actually entails. Like, you don't really get told about the business side, yada yada. But yeah, so I transitioned into PT, and I still felt like, fuck, what is wrong with me? And it was the same again. Like, I thought changing this job would be the thing that, you know, makes me better, makes me feel how I want to feel, and make me the person that I thought that, you know, I could fall into, as in I'm always exercising, I'm eating the right things, da 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 da. And shock horror, no change at all. So it wasn't until, so I had a business mentor, and it wasn't until he actually pointed it out to me, and he was like, something's not right with you, in a very caring way. He was just explaining that over the months that we'd worked together, he'd noticed that my energy and my kind of demeanour and how I carried myself, like, was again very much declining. Like, I could put on a face, but sometimes it got to a point where that face would keep slipping. I didn't realise it, and I'm very grateful to that person for actually mentioning it, because they taught me through their experience going on antidepressants, their experience with therapy, and it wasn't until that conversation that I was actually like, oh, this actually can be helped. And there's a lot of stigma still around taking antidepressants. I need it. Like, I'm always a big advocate that if you had a physical illness, you would take whatever medication you needed to get back on track. Same with a mental illness. If you are so mentally ill that you cannot get out of bed, you cannot see past whatever you're going through, you cannot see like any light at the end of the tunnel, please do just take them if you need them. Don't listen to comments. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we went on medication, and I'm still on medication to this day. Like, I function so much better on medication, and I don't plan on coming off it anytime soon, because it works for me. And again, it's not going to work for everyone, but I have found what works for me. Anyway, so alongside this, I got the therapy to basically function like a normal human being, because I didn't know how to. I let depression and anxiety rule my life, and again, I didn't know any different, but I had this kind of like as an interim therapy to basically get to a place where I could cope with things, because I really couldn't, and I was constantly having panic attacks over things that I didn't even know. Oh my god, hair. I was constantly having panic attacks over things, and you don't want to live like that, basically. So yeah, had therapy. That took me to a place where I just felt stable. Like, I wasn't an emotional wreck, like I'm making myself sound like I was hysterical, but it was just hard to manage. I was constantly putting this face on, and as a business owner you've got to anyway, like you do have to put your best foot forward, but then it was so hard to come home, feel like I could breathe but also not breathe, because then I had this other side that was like, you shit, you don't know what you're doing, like you're never gonna be anything, you're never worth, and da da da, you know the thoughts, like. And like, I had reached out for help before, and it really used to piss me off where they were like, have you tried journaling? And like, don't get me wrong, journaling is a good thing, but I got to a point where I was so sick of hearing it that I was like, I guess I'm going to be stuck this way then, because journaling doesn't work for me. I'm sick of people just telling me to journal, like there's something clearly wrong. But yeah, I got the help, I got stable, and then a few things happened in subsequent months that I didn't realise that I actually had CPTSD as well. So break it down, that is complex PTSD, so it's not like a specific event that's caused you to have PTSD, it's ongoing trauma that has given you PTSD, but because it's not one certain thing, it makes it quite complex, and it makes it something that you can get triggered by like the slightest thing, because there's so much involved in it. So yeah, I got diagnosed with CPTSD, and then I went through trauma therapy. So trauma therapy is quite intense, like it's not just your typical talking it out and, you know, making a little plan to get better. It is getting into a lot of things that your brain switches off from reality. So things have happened in my past that my brain knew was too much for me to deal with, and too much for it to stay kind of live. So what it does is it tucks that away in the back of your head, but it's still there. So when something very similar happens in like your day-to-day life, this gets brought back live, and then you don't know the difference from actually being there and reality. So it was a very confusing time for myself, and I was having, and I didn't know what they were until I got my second therapy, and basically I was having PTSD flashbacks, like in front of people, and like it is quite embarrassing to look back on, because like it's to the outside it looks like such minor things, but to me and what I'm feeling, it's a lot of emotional trauma from my past that has come forward, and that's all I can see. I can't see what's going on in reality. I can't differentiate that I'm here and the past is in the past, like it all becomes one. And anyway, that was a lot to live with and deal with, and obviously going through your trauma, because they need to get to the root cause of it, it does bring up a lot of stuff that you forgot about, and again, that is quite a lot to deal with. Just in terms of day-to-day functioning, because you'd have your session, you talk about some really horrible, you know, quite intense things, and then not to diss therapy, it's just how it works, but then your session ends, they do give you kind of like coping mechanisms between, but then that's it until the next week, and then that week you just have to kind of come to terms with what you've now learned has happened, and what, you know, yeah. Basically it's hard to talk about, but yeah, so that was that. So therapy ended, and I got to quite a good place where I've not come to terms with it, I've just learned how to not let it affect me as much anymore. Now I've done a lot of kind of self-help, if you will, so kind of like self-research and looking at all these things, and then this experience, like this whole part of my life, and it's been a long part of my life, like this whole part of my life is what I've been able to use to help other women. And again, I'm not a qualified therapist, like put that out there, disclaimer, I'm not in any way giving people CBT, any therapy, but it's just little things that I've learned that, you know, that I can pass on and that will help someone who was like me, like up until probably like 2 years ago. So now that's out of the way, I then got to a place of where I kind of felt like a blank slate, kind of, and I just got to the point where, because I had this like lift off me from therapy, I then just kind of got to a place where I was like, do you know what, I'm just sick of my own shit. Like, I'm sick of letting myself feel this way. I'm sick of not living a life I want to live. And I'll talk about this later on, but sometimes you do just get to a point where you know what you don't want anymore, and you're so fucking sick of it that you're like, I'm never living this way again, and I need to move forward. So I started from looking at my beliefs and kind of things that I was holding that weren't necessarily true about myself, just from like past and things like that. And then I slowly started to build in my confidence, and how I've done that is I have pushed myself and pushed myself and pushed myself. And this is not me being big-headed, but like, obviously my therapist was a lovely lady, and she would try and reframe my brain, and she told me, you know, you are a really resilient person, like, use this to your advantage, of keep pushing forward, like, setbacks are always going to happen, but she was like, how you managed to deal with and things I've achieved regardless of what's gone on, she was like, use this as your motivator, just know that you have yourself to fall back on. And that's kind of what I kept in my mind. So I'd say for anyone else, look at the things that you are good at, look at the things that, and it's icky because I've had to do it too, but look at what you're good at, look at what is, you know, your strong point, what could carry you forward, that if everything else fails and everything crumbles around you, what do you have within you that will help keep taking you forward? So it's not been obviously an overnight process, it has been at least a year minimum, and I'm still not somewhere where I'm fully happy. Like, I'm still doing work on myself, work on my body, but I'm in a place now where I feel like it's okay to share it with people because I've lived through it, I've gained experience from it, and I can just share what I've learned along the way to hopefully help people's brain just switch a little bit. And I'll talk about this a bit later, but I envisioned what I wanted in my life, and I had to identify with that rather than my old identity, because I was kind of in between the two. I wasn't there anymore, and I wasn't here yet. I was stuck in the middle, but I had to keep looking forward. I had to keep looking at this identity and what I need to do to get to this person, because if I keep looking that way, I'm gonna go back to that person, and that obviously that's somewhere I didn't want to be. So adding all that together has got me to a place where I finally feel a bit comfortable in myself. Like I said earlier, still got work to do, but just somewhere that I can fit, that I feel like I now have space to grow as a person and deal with more, in a good sense. So I'm just going to talk you through kind of the advice I'd say to start from and then work your way towards, just so that you have kind of like a clear step guide of where to start from and where to start moving to, so that you can push yourself closer to this identity and this person that you know you can be it, you just don't know how. First things first, what I'd say to people is, if you are really struggling and you can't see light from the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, everything's got this phase over it, please do reach out for help. There is really great resources out there that are for free as well. Like I had some free therapy and it is just as good. Yeah, the wait list can be a little bit longer, but you know, it is still just as good as what you'd pay for. And then do speak to your GP as well about obviously medication. It's not for everyone, but if you are someone that works well with it, honestly, it is life-changing. So that is my first port of call that I would always say to anyone, and to my clients as well. I have, because I do care about them, if I have noticed that, you know, they are struggling, that there is something that is more kind of underlying, I will just point them in the direction of, look, I think this might be beneficial for you. And I know at least one of my clients has been, and you know, it has made a world of difference for her. So this is why I like what I do, because of my past, it all does tie together. So whether the first step for you is therapy or not, the next step that you need to look at is, what do you want your life to look like? And this is going to sound like woo-woo shit, but without planning anything, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's why 9 times out of 10, when you've not planned anything, you revert back to your old self, your old habits, your old way of life, because there's no intention behind anything. So you need to sit down with yourself and think, what do I want my life to look like? Who do I want to be? And write down what you do in a day, what this person does when this situation arrives. And it's not an overnight life transformation thing, but it's that first step or second step to plan out and get to the person that you envision yourself as wanting to be. From there, we then need to look at what you don't want anymore. So it's all good and well thinking of what I want in my life, but you're so far down here that there's such a big gap between that you're like, well, I'm never going to get there because look at how far away I am. So what you need to do is focus on down here as well, and think about what you don't want in your life anymore. What don't you want your life to look like? What kind of person do you not want to be anymore? And sometimes having this what I don't want is much more of a bigger driver than what you do want, because you've never experienced this, so you don't know what it feels like to be there. You don't know what it feels like to be this person. So in your head, because you have no evidence of it, this just feels foreign. Whereas down here, you know what this feels like. You know how fucking shit it feels. So if we have a look at what we don't want to focus on, we can use this as our driver to then keep pushing further up to this ideal that you have in your head for yourself. The next thing I'd say is that if you're the person that you're lying in bed, you're scrolling social media, you're seeing all these girls, I ran this much today, I've done this at the gym, I've eaten this, and you know it's what you want to be like, but you just feel so disconnected from it because, again, you don't know what it feels like, you've never been that person, and you just keep telling yourself it'll never be you. First off, stop telling yourself that, because the messages that you feed yourself is what your brain is then going to look for evidence of. So whatever is in your surroundings, your brain is going to pick out, okay, that sounds right, that sounds familiar to what I think, that's my evidence, and it's going to keep using that, it's going to keep feeding yourself that. No matter what else is going on around you, it's going to look and support the messages that you keep telling yourself. And again, that's not an overnight change, but we need to look at the person you want to be and how they identify themselves. So what do they identify with? Are they a person that, you know, goes to the gym before work so that it's done? What does your ideal person do in their life? And then you need to, every time, because shit's gonna get hard, every time something comes up, think about what this person would do and have this as your little like role model inspiration. It's not someone to compare yourself to, it's someone to kind of envision, embody, and try think about, you know, in this situation, what's she gonna do? What would she do? What would she say? What would she be telling me? Think about this person rather than what you're currently feeling. So coming on from feelings as well, like feelings are always valid. I always say validate your feelings. You are never wrong for what you feel, but you also need to realise that feelings are an irrational driver in your life. So feelings is not actually reality. Feelings is your reaction to something. So we need to recognise that we can't rely on our feelings all the time. So we're feeling tired, we're feeling upset, we're feeling unmotivated. These are just your internal factors that you're using to then avoid this uncomfortableness that you need to do to get to where you want to be, but you just don't want to do it because it doesn't feel safe. And again, that's genuine like brain chemistry of how it works. If you feel unsafe, your brain is not going to want to do it. Anything that's unfamiliar and new is technically unsafe to your brain because it's not experienced it before, and that's why you don't do it. So you need to make this area, this distant gym, whatever, needs to be a safe area that you can get to. And how you do that is by telling yourself things and not relying on those feelings of, oh, I feel so anxious. Okay, I feel anxious, but I'm going to feel so much better when I've been to the gym. I'm going to feel so much, you know, happier when I have been for an outdoor walk and I've got my steps in and I'm going to feel accomplished. Those are the messages that you need to keep telling yourself, and stop relying on those feelings, because those feelings are not going to get you anywhere. Those feelings are just a hindrance, and it's just noise in your head of distractions and just reasons not to. My next point is removing friction from things. So the more resistance there is to you doing something, as in there's more that stands in your way, you're never going to do it. So cliche advice, you've all heard this, but get your gym stuff out the night before, because then you have to just get up, get dressed, go. There's no, oh, I've not got my gym stuff out, and then I've not got my pre-workout ready, and then I've not got this ready. So there's like 5 steps for me to go to the gym, so oh fuck it, can't be asked. That is kind of the pattern that goes through your brain. So something that you want to do, reduce the friction that there is to do it. So reduce the steps, make it as easy as possible. Things that are bad habits for you, things that you don't want to do, increase that friction. So let's say you are a really big snacker, so you need to increase friction between you going downstairs and getting that snack. So what does that look like for you? It could be putting your snacks right at the back of the fridge where you can't see them, so when you open the fridge it's not there in your face and you're like, oh, I'll grab this. Put it to the back so it's out of sight, out of mind. I don't give this advice to everyone, everyone's a little bit different, but you could just not buy those snacks. Simple solution. Again, that's not coming from an eating restriction standpoint, it's coming from what works for you and what's going to align with your habits. And sometimes having that extra friction of you have to go to the shop, we're lazy, we're not going to do it, are we can't be bothered. So that is a good one to get that friction in. And my last point, just to wrap this video up, is just coming to terms with that it's going to take a lot more work than you think, and ticking off your boxes one day doesn't mean you've achieved anything. You need to consistently be able to tick those boxes off day by day by day by day, and that is what will compound over time, because people have a lot more body fat to lose than they think. I did as well. Like, I was completely weight blind to how much weight I gained through obviously that stressful time of my life. But again, thinking in your head, oh, it's going to be 12 weeks and my life's going to be completely transformed. No, it isn't. Like, think of how many years you've had these habits, these thoughts, these feelings, this mindset. You're not going to get rid of that in 12 weeks, or but even like half a year. It takes a long time. So it's just sitting down with yourself, being realistic, and just being like, right, I'm going to commit to this change. And for me to commit to this change, what can I do each day that I know I can tick off that is going to push me closer and closer and closer to where I want to be? You need to break it down as easy as possible, so that it's literally like foolproof, so that you can keep ticking off those boxes and keep pushing yourself to where you want to be. And again, I know it's not going to be an overnight change. There is going to be days where, you know, shit happens, shit goes wrong, you're in your feels, but as long as the next day we're like, right, we go again, we just get back to those tick boxes, keep ticking off, and that is what's going to see you through, rather than putting this pressure on yourself to be in 12 weeks a completely different person. You get to the end of the 12 weeks and then you're thinking, not much has changed, I'm never going to be different. That's why, because you're setting yourself such unrealistic expectations of, I'm going to have a whole new life, when again, you have been this way for literal years. Like, it's not an overnight change, guys. So if you're someone that you have this vision of where you want to be, but you're so far over here, you don't know how to get in between, what's even in between, if it's even possible for you, you need to break all these habits, you don't know how to change this mindset. I have one-to-one coaching available, and this is what I help women with day to day. It's not just about your calories, it's not just about your step targets, your training. There is so much more to transforming and being the person that you want to be and living the life that you finally feel happy with. There is so much more to it, and this is what I work with my women in my coaching. So all the bits are down below. If you're interested, just have a little look. I do have small group running soon, so priority link in the bio. If you want to join, it's £99 for the first 2 months, and spaces go live 29th of May, so not long to get on that list if you're wanting to have a go. But I'll speak soon, guys, and thank you for listening to my first video. I never thought, again, like, I'd be someone that could film a YouTube video. It was probably not the best, and there's probably, when I watch this back, I know there's going to be so much more that I should have said or like put in, just about obviously the journey and stuff, because it has been so long and such a journey. But I now feel in a place where I'm okay to share it, and I'm okay to, you know, let people in. And I always find that, like, sharing, just, I don't know, like, I always find that, like, if I can share something that will help someone else, just in the slightest way, like, that means the world to me. Because I remember back in those times of the darkest days, I just felt so alone. I was like, there's no advice for someone like me. It's like, oh, if you want it, just get up and do it. And when you're in the pits of it, that shit doesn't work. Like, there's no just get up and do it. But yeah, hopefully along the journey we can share some more tips and some more things that I've found along the way that helps, and then obviously share with you guys. And if you did enjoy this video, do just give it a like, because anything does help. Obviously boost this channel, and then we can share this message to more people and hopefully get more people feeling, you know, safe and happy and all the good stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. Thanks guys, and see you in the next one. Bye.